Hey everyone, today we're making Lamingtons. Perfect, cubic Lamingtons. These are one of the first sweet treats that I ever fell in love with, having been born and raised in Australia. Though it turns out these may not actually be Australian after all, but that is a subject for another video. We're not here to argue about the lineage of Australian / New Zealand desserts, because I think they're all from down under. Anyway, let's make some Lamingtons. Now for our sponge, we have a version of the reverse creaming method that was pioneered by Rose Levy-Berenbaum in her seminal The Baking Bible. So we're starting by mixing the dry ingredients with the oil first, and we're going to rub it together. So we got flour, the cornstarch, bicarbonate soda, baking powder and salt, and I'm going to just whisk them to combine. This is my version of sifting and distributing all of those baking powders, and then I'm adding the oil. Now I like to use just plain extra virgin olive oil, but you're welcome to use any type you like. I recommend cold pressed or organic varieties for health reasons. Mix this to distribute the oil, but then we're going to get in there with our fingers. So I'm just rubbing everything together with my fingers, kind of using a squeezing, rubbing motion until everything looks like breadcrumbs. We want everything to be the same color to show that all the flour has been coated. And this is just going to result in a very light, fluffy, tender cake with very tight crumbs. So no kind of larger ones. It's going to be very consistent and very uniform. It's a bit like a commercial sponge, which is kind of what this is seeking to imitate. To my milk, I'm using soy milk. I'm adding the sugar, vanilla extract, and vinegar. I'm just going to give these a whisk. And I'm going to add this in two additions. We don't want to add it all together because we're going to end up with a batter that is prone to having clumps. So I'm just going to start by mixing a very thick batter. We want it to be thick and kind of firm and hard, because when we mix it, it's going to break down any lumps. So as you can see, as I mix, we have some lumps at the beginning, which by the time I'm done with this, those lumps will all be broken down. And then we're going to gradually just add that last bit to loosen it and soften the mixture. So this could also be done in a stand mixer with a beater attachment, but it's pretty easy. So first up, I added half of the liquids, and now I'm just gradually adding the rest. Kind of letting down the mixture, so going from a really thick consistency to a softer one. And then I'm going to add the rest. So it's really important that we just add it, we kind of give it what we think it can take. If we add too much of the liquids, we can end up with a batter that has lots of lumps in it. So now I'm just going to finish this with the whisk. Everything is beautifully combined. The batter is quite wet. And I've got my prepared tin. I've just used some oil to stick the sides down. Look how flawless that is. And now everything goes in. So this goes in the oven for 12 minutes to start. So our Lamington sponge has finished baking. It's got a nice golden color. We can check doneness by pressing it and it springs back. If in doubt, you can use a skewer test by just inserting a toothpick or skewer into the center of the cake, and it should come out clean. I'm just going to pick up the sponge while it's still hot and place it on a rack to cool. To make our chocolate dipping sauce, we have coconut oil that's been melted. You can do that in the microwave in short bursts. We've got some hot water, icing sugar, and cocoa powder that we're just going to whisk together. Carefully weigh that water because it'll affect the consistency of the sauce. So just mix it until we have a nice thick chocolate sauce. So then we take our sponge and we want to cut it into 12 portions, 3 by 4 cuts. So just trim the edge so that they're nice and sharp. These edges are good for making snack fingers. You can see we have that lovely, tight, tender crumb. I'm just going to lay down a nice big piece of parchment paper in anticipation of the mess that is about to happen. So I'm going to start by dipping the sponges into the chocolate and letting them sit here just until I've dipped them all, because I don't want to mix a lot of chocolate with the coconut. So the technique that I like to use is to dip each side and then swipe off the excess gently, so to keep the shape really nice. So side by side. No one said this was going to be a clean job. So that's our first piece. So I'm just doing a dip and swipe motion so that 1, I have enough chocolate sauce to go around, and 2, so that I don't have too thick a layer that is soaking into the sponge. I mean, I'm all for heaps of chocolate sauce. I'm not scraping it all off, but it's just a bit more control, and also so that I don't have heaps of sauce swimming around and kind of dirtying all the coconut. Lovely. So I've got just enough to dip my snack fingers. So typically we use desiccated coconut to coat the Lamington. I like to use a mix of nice coconut flakes for extra texture and coconut flavour, and the desiccated. So just mix them all together. So basically what we like to do is take one piece and drop it in the coconut and just use one hand to kind of work our way around the Lamington. Otherwise we could end up with chocolate all over our lovely white coconut. So I'm just rotating it and patting it on, and then there we go, we have a gorgeous Lamington. We've got nice even cubes across the board. When they judge competitions, you want them to actually be kind of as wide as they are tall, so they need to be bang on. But these are really neat, lovely, light fluffy sponge, coconutty coating. It's a classic.